Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Women's Day special hangout, and we're discussing women bringing women back to work. We have three lovely guests with us, and if you have questions for them, you can share them in the comments below or tweet or Facebook to us at Kids Stop Press. First guest today is Pooja Gupta, Head Portfolio HR at Kalaari Capital. With over 15 years of experience playing a variety of local and international roles in HR, she has had the opportunity of driving the HR charter at scale in large multinational environments as well as at a dynamic hyper-growth startup. She has worked with SAP, headed the HR function at Myntra, and recently moved to Kalaari Capital, where she adds a more professionalized service to portfolio companies. Pooja, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us.
Mansi, thank you. Hi, everyone. Very pleased to be here. And I have to say that I think this is a great initiative you and Neha are driving. So very good to be here.
Right. Pooja, I'm going to start with you. You've been with startups and successful companies like Myntra and SAP before. What is the kind of flexibility that women want, and what is really dished out to them?
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting question because obviously people talk about diversity in the workforce and flexibility. I think, a lot of companies today offer flexibility, which is to say, you have flexible work time, you have work from home options. And I think those are important to women, at different stages in their life, especially women who are coming back after having taken a break. But I think the challenge, Mansi, tends to be that while we offer women flexibility, what I've seen is that it often comes with a caveat, which is to say that, look, you work, you take all of these things, but then you're out of the running for some of the top jobs, right? And so in my mind, I have always looked at flexibility or flexible options to say, how do you provide flexibility, but ensure that women remain ambitious and competitive and are able to stay engaged in the workplace, right? So I think that's the bigger thing where I think the kind of flexibility required is around, for example, travel. Right? So instead of women opting out of roles that require travel, can corporates invest and say, look, do bite-sized travel, do day trips? Of course, then you spend more, but it's an investment. Right. So I think that's the kind of flexibility that one needs to move to. And, group events, how do you be part of team meetings, offsites? Can you work remotely? So I think that is the important, that's the kind of flexibility that I think corporates should provide more and more. And I think the other thing about flexibility is also just flexibility in the mind. I think a lot of women need to also feel that they've got choices and flexibility in terms of just when do you have your kids, how do you space them, when do you take a break, when do you get back. I think that's the larger thing, and that is really very personal, but that is also something that requires planning and thought. And I think more and more women should realize that there is a lot of options there that they could be exercising.
So tell me something, Pooja, with all these initiatives, and especially with so much of technology coming in, technology changing at such a rapid pace, things becoming obsolete even before you realize it, how do women in the workforce keep themselves relevant? Because I think that's one question, and Neha,
Yes.
you can correct me, if that's one question that affects women most emotionally, that I can't go back because I don't know if I can do what I used to do anymore.
Yeah. So, I think that's very valid. And, I think there's a number of ways, Mansi, that I can think of. And I know Neha probably has more thoughts around that as well. Um, I think it's important to, if you're taking a break, to remain connected and networked. I think that is super important in today's world, right? And one of the things that many women tend to do is that when you take a break, you take a complete break, right? And then you try and come back, and it's that much harder. But today, with the kind of options you've got professional networks, social platforms, so many different ways of staying connected with people, right? And I think that's the first step that one has to take for oneself. Apart from that, I think there's a whole lot of online opportunities to keep yourself abreast of what's happening. There's very good courses, there's very good opportunities to just keep connected and learn and grow, right? That apart, I think also that organizations need to create a lot of bridge programs, right? Which means that if you're coming back, even if it's a short break, it could be 6 months, 2 years, whatever. I think those bridge programs are extremely important, where maybe periodically you share updates, you keep women connected to what's happening in their domain or team or organization, right? So I think that's something where the onus is really on the organization. What I know good companies also do is to help transition back. which means you set transitional goals, you coach, you mentor, you help women really feel comfortable in what they're coming back to. So those are some of the things that I think can be done to help women not feel completely out of it when they're returning.
So, just something to add over here, Pooja. I mean, when we have been dealing with so many of the women, and of course, based on the personal experience of mine on my team, many times when you take that break, you just enter a different planet and a different orbit, right? It becomes very difficult to stay connected with what you were doing earlier, and it becomes actually embarrassing to stay connected with your colleagues and your previous network. You start feeling, in fact, even more dejected when you realize that the world is rushing away and you're kind of left behind. And you just start falling into a new avatar and a new way of life. So for many of those women, it becomes very difficult to stay connected during the period of break, which is why I love the idea of the bridge programs, because it's almost like they switched off their brains or the skills for a short period of time. All they need to do is to turn it back on and to refresh themselves, right?
I think the bridge program is a super idea, and it's a great initiative because and I like the fact that you mentioned about online courses, staying networked, staying connected, because I think yes, you're absolutely right. While we are saying that we're moving with technology, we forget that the social aspect and the staying networked and connected can also be moved on to technology, right? So that's a huge plus point. I'm going to go on to our second guest today, who is literally the man of the moment because he's the only man in this conversation with so many women, and I'm sure he's quite stressed about it. Hi, Chirag. Chirag is from MakeMyTrip.com. He is a management graduate and an MBA, and of course has worked across hospitality and travel industries. He's been with Make My Trip for over 5 years and has recruited and inducted people, over thousands of people across 9 major cities in the country. Chirag, so what is it that women are really looking for, and what are the typical issues that women grapple with when they come back to work?
So thank you so much for having me on this great chat, and I'm privileged to be among all the ladies and the only male speaker in this. I would start with the philosophy with which we started our channel, and I like to give a small introduction of it. We in travel realize that travel sales, and especially the holiday sales, is an expert job, and you require really mature people to handle the travel requirement of an individual. We also looked at what is the potential available in the market in terms of the sellers or in terms of people who could do that. We had a small idea wherein we realized that there are a lot of ladies who've taken a career break. And those could be for any reason. It could be for family, it could be for any other reason. And we realized that these people or these ladies per se have a huge potential, and more importantly, the hunger to get back into the game. So you have on one side you have a call center employee who's a 24 25-year-old guy or a girl who's just started the career, and on the other hand you have these ladies who work for 5 7 8 years on an average, and now they're not working, but that hunger and passion to be back in the game, to be back in the business is there. So we thought that let's utilize that potential and let's get them back. We had a humble beginning of about 15-20 ladies working with us, which eventually went up to more than 1,000 ladies working with us. Incidentally, are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Incidentally, out of the 1,000 workforce which we have, 95% people are not from the industry.
Wow.
It's just that basic potential, hunger and passion to do well. Rest everything else could be educated or trained on.
Okay.
Which opened up spaces for people who never thought that they will be able to work in travel or they would be able to change their stream of work. And coming back to the point which we were discussing earlier, the fact that you become obsolete in the technology world and you actually can't keep up with the changes which are happening in your industry. But if you get a platform wherein you actually do a paradigm shift on what you were doing, then it becomes a great opportunity. What we have realized is, in terms of the difficulties which the ladies generally face, is one that they don't understand the travel domain or they don't understand the domain in which they're getting. And secondly, coming back from a big break and then getting into the rut of the things the transition becomes slightly more difficult.
Chirag, I'm just going to interrupt you there for a moment because I want to understand when you say that you need to make a paradigm shift, and I'm going to ask the other panelists here, do we really need to make a paradigm shift when we want to get back? I mean, that's a question I would like both of the other panelists to answer as well, because I mean, I've been doing something. I've always worked towards some, building a career in X, Y, Z field, and suddenly today, do I need to take up something that just suits my flexibility a little bit more versus what I really am more inclined to do?
So Mansi, we're seeing all kinds of examples at jobs for her, and many women do not need to make a paradigm shift. Exactly what you're saying, right? I mean,
Okay.
they have worked really hard. They have studied maybe to master's degrees, PhD levels in particularly
Yeah.
pursuing that. But
Right.
over 50% of women who are looking at getting back to work are looking at reinventing their careers. I
Okay.
mean, if the number of conversations we have with women who tell us that they do not want to go back to doing what they used to do earlier.
But are they
Um,
not doing what they want to do and looking at reinventing because of lack of opportunities in what they were doing? Pooja, do you have a different opinion on this?
No, I think, look, I mean, if you do it out of choice and because, you really want to do something different, that is great. And I think it's great that there are initiatives that allow women to do that. But if you're doing it out of a sense of, look, I don't have options, I
Right.
don't think that can be a very good way to come back to work.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I mean, I would think so too, because then it's like you're picking interest or flexibility. You're not trying to
To
kind of
merge,
sense a
yes.
balance of
no,
both,
actually,
right?
with many of them, what happens is that when you've taken that break, you also come back with a different perspective.
Right.
And you look back, and sometimes you say, hey, you know what, I've done that, I don't want to do that again.
Right.
In many cases, if they want to continue doing that, then that's great because they have great work experience in that.
Sure. Chirag and Pooja, I'm going to ask both of you all this question. When you're looking actively at candidates, do you look at candidates on a break or on a sabbatical for mainstream, for mainstream jobs or managerial positions or higher level positions? Do you look at women on a break?
Can I give an answer to that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's right. So when we do interviews, what we look at doing is the reason. The most important thing is the reason why a particular woman is looking at getting back to work,
Right.
or why is she looking at an option which requires a lot of flexibility. To give you a perspective on the kind of people we have had lawyers with us, we've had teachers with us.
Right.
Recently, we recruited a doctor with us, and there are a whole lot of engineers and people who've done a varied courses in their career, and they've been pursuing a different kind of career. Why they also come and work in travel is because of their passion for it. it's
Okay.
it's not it's not the fact that it's something which they the only option available for them,
Right.
but it's more out of passion and the need of or the want of changing what they were doing earlier to something else.
Right.
And travel as an industry is so huge that
Mhm.
you would find 95 out of 100 people who would have immense passion or immense interest in travel.
Right.
While they might not travel themselves a lot, but that travel idea is always on top of the head.
Right.
So that is one of the reasons why people come. And when we look at such people, we dig deeper into the reasoning why they're doing it,
But
and
Chirag, did
then
you also use them for mainstream opportunities? Like I mentioned, when you were considering a position, at the higher level, are you looking at women on a break when you are going through your recruitment process?
yes. So what we do is, as I said, that this talent pool of 1,000 odd ladies is a huge talent pool for us. What we've done is, at any point in time, if you feel that this is not the job for which you would want to work, and you find or come across an opportunity within MakeMyTrip, which is a full-time senior level or a mid-level or a junior level opportunity,
Yeah.
you tell us, and I will make sure that I'm going to push your CV with much more gusto to the internal team, because you're somebody who's worked with me as an entrepreneur, and now you're looking at working full time in an organization. So that option is always available with holiday experts, and there have been cases wherein people from being into the travel job or the part time or the flexible job have moved on to full time positions within Make My Trip.
Okay, Pooja, what about you? Have you looked at in your past experiences with SAP and with Mintra? Have you looked at women on a break or on a sabbatical?
It's a difficult question, Mansi. I think the general sort of tendency and mindset tends to be to not want to hire people who've been on a break, right? Male or female, to be honest. Of course, there are more women who take a break, right? And therefore, I think what we've done is to have very conscious focus on saying, look, let's look at people who've taken a break and let's see why they took a break,
Right.
what the reason was. And if it's a good reason, then of course, then you want to consider, but you have to do very proactive work to make that happen. And
Right.
it's not just one individual. So HR folks have to be trained, hiring managers have to be trained, and that whole mindset and culture has to be created where people are open to looking at folks who've taken a break. Right?
Right.
That's one. The other is, I think, from an organization's point of view, there are jobs which require you to come in and hit the ground running,
Right.
right? And if someone's been on a long break, as I said, we hit that problem and we said, look, we will have to do a bridge thing to get this person ready to come into this job. So if you're very keen on bringing back women into the workforce, as we were at Myntra, for example, right? Then you have to create these things so women are ready to come back.
Right.
And so there's no sort of easy answer to that one. Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to jump in here with a fabulous example. Kotak Mahindra Bank just hired the assistant vice president and branch head of their second largest branch in South India. And the woman is a woman with her name is Uma Maheshwari. She has a break of 5 years.
Wow, that's commendable. That's commendable. But how do women? So typically, when you're in the job market, you're always with headhunters and you're speaking to them. But the minute you go on a break, how do you sort of still stay connected and still stay relevant? I mean, is that ever a challenge? Because that's the traditional hiring system, or are we looking in newer avenues now? Whoever can take that question.
Well, I mean, so again, Mansi, even if you weren't connected during your break, right, the day you decide to get back, our vision is that you should be able to get back, right?
Right.
So of course, the portal will connect you to all sorts of job opportunities
Right.
through that's our job, right? We go out to these companies and tell them that hey, this is a fantastic talent pool that you should hire from.
Sure.
And second, to become relevant again, it helps hugely if you can update your skills. You can take, there are tons of online courses available today. There are voluntary positions, there are internships, returning internships that you can take at companies.
Right.
Whatever will help you to get skill ready again, that opportunity should be grabbed.
Okay, awesome. Pooja, coming back to you, we're always talking of the gender split, and we're talking about, women, of the kind of, the more women are taking a break. Do you see a difference? You worked at SAP, which was a tech company, and and a lot of women say that tech requires a large number of hours and a longer day. With Myntra and now with Kalaari, where you're handling multiple portfolios, and do you feel like there are more? I mean, it's a fact that you will see more male entrepreneurs than female entrepreneurs. Do you feel that that gap still exists in the number of pitches that you might receive from both or your portfolio companies?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think the gap, definitely does exist. And, in fact, if you look at the numbers over the last 10, 12 years, women in the workforce, that percentage has actually declined, right? So every 5 years or so, you will have a 5 to 7% decline in the traditional workforce, right? But I think what we are also seeing, and which is very heartening, is that there is a lot of women out there who are really, as Neha was saying, reinventing themselves in lots of ways, right? And I think the whole entrepreneurial sort of spirit and this whole sort of thing which is happening in the country is hugely positive because there are a lot of women now. So if you look at online marketplaces like a Flipkart, right, for example, 30% or more of the sellers on those marketplaces are now women. And these are small businesses often being run from home, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's a fabulous thing that we're seeing, right? At Kalaari, I think almost 15% of the companies that we've invested in have women leading them, right? Women founders. So I think that's a good trend. Of course, as I always say, I think you have to keep investing in this. You have to do things both at an individual and at a corporate level to keep women in the workspace. But I think this is a positive trend that is definitely emerging.
Right. I'm going to ask all of you this question. What are the reasons why women opt out of the workforce? Is motherhood the only one, or we're talking about other issues, as well? I mean, is motherhood the only reason why women are opting out of the workforce?
I mean, I'd love to hear from the others. I think motherhood is probably one of the biggest of the reasons. But I
Right.
think the other reasons tend also to be, if your partner is traveling or relocating, there's a lot of women who drop out at that stage as well. So I
Right.
think that's the second biggest reason, I would imagine.
Right. Okay. Chirag and Neha, what about you?
As a recruiter, I would definitely agree with the point that motherhood is something which is the single biggest reason for any woman to opt out of work. And it's also their personal thing wherein they would want to, apart from motherhood, they would want to give enough time to their family. Because
Right.
if you look at the lifestyle in big metros, especially Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, and cities like those, it's not the number of hours of work which kills you; it's the travel time which eventually kills you. Because
Absolutely.
in our office also we have the office timing might be from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. but the person leaves at about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning and reaches about 10, 11 in the night. So it's
Wow.
the travel time which kills. And hence eventually a lot of ladies opt out, not because they couldn't give 7, 8 hours to their job, but on an overall basis they couldn't provide 12 hours. And
Right. Right.
there are responsibilities. So apart from motherhood, that is another reason which tells us people, and when we tell them that you still have to work for 6, 7 hours, but there is no traveling involved,
Right.
that is what something which really excites them, because that's something which is absolutely unproductive and
Right.
which kills the whole day for them.
Right. I'm gonna ask all of you guys. Sorry, Neha, you wanna go in? You
Yeah,
wanna?
see, Mansi, so it's called the four M's.
Yeah.
First is comes marriage, so this
Yeah.
is working. Then comes motherhood. Then comes mobility, which is when they move from one place to the other and they become a trailing spouse if their husband's job keeps moving. And
Right.
then is medical care. So your parent or your in-law falls ill, and guess what? The woman would like to take a break and take care of them, which is a good thing.
Right.
So it's the four M's that happens in a woman's life, and she takes a break.
Yeah, I think that gets founded
Uh,
also, Neha, by a lack of just infrastructure and support systems, right?
yes.
And we've seen a lot of that there are women who want to continue, but there is just no support system. There's no infrastructure to support that. Uh,
Right. Right.
Mansi, I also wanted to pull in here. I quit because I had a baby, and unfortunately, my company didn't provide a good facility or daycare facility. I think that's one of the factor which is missing.
Right.
I mean, there are companies which do provide, but again, it is limited to 5 p.m., 6 p.m., and I belong to ITS industries where there are no timings. So it becomes very difficult for a mother, to where to focus, to kid, to the or to your work. So I think that's something which companies should be looking at to provide facilities for the kids. There are very, very few companies which do that.
Right. Right. I completely agree with you. We're gonna soon wrap this up. So I have last few quick questions for all of you here. What are the kind of facilities that we're looking at to get women to really bring women back to work? What is it? I'm gonna ask our two participants here, actually, Richa and Chetna both. What is it that companies can really do to get you guys back to work?
Flexible timing
Yeah.
might be partly not always work from home, but might be whenever required. Might be 2 to 3 hours in office, and rest of the time you can might be do the same work at home. That would be great because we can manage, and might be what she said. Daycare facilities, if very few organizations are giving it. Even I quit my job after 11 years due to this reason.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it's
And
not.
what about you, Richa? What would be your ideal dream job, and what can recruiters do to get you back?
Uh, I don't know. I mean, at this point of time, the industry I belong to, I don't think there is any ideal scenario for me. Maybe as Chetna said, flexible options. If we can have work from home once in a week, twice a week, more of daycare facilities, uh, and that's it. Probably a supportive manager, which normally, if sorry Chirag, I'm saying this, but I see a lot of male managers who don't really understand what a woman is going through, with marriage and kids. That is what exactly happened with me, and I had to quit. Not all like that, but I think that will help. That will help me.
Right, right. No, I completely agree because I'm sure there are lots of times when women are given flexibility of walking in early and leaving out early, but you will have a lot of peers watching you. And I think sometimes your manager might be very supportive, but the peers around you have that glares on you because you are a mom and I was like, dude, this is really not worth it. And of course, I found, found my real passion and like literally reinvented myself. But coming back, I just really want to ask all of you guys one question and tell me if it's true or false. Are women more efficient and better managers?
Yes, they
Yes,
are.
they are.
Yes, I'm
Yes, I'm
saying.
I think I should be the one answering that.
Chetna, can we have you mute yourself, please?
Yeah?
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
Chirag, go on.
I'm saying that I should be the one to give an answer to that. And
Yeah,
I would definitely vouch for it. One, as somebody who has a lot of women working in the team, and
right.
secondly, on a personal front, and I would like to slightly go back in saying that the need for infrastructure is definitely there, a 360-degree approach for infrastructure, not only limited to daycare, but probably having a concierge in office who does all household work for you, whether it is getting groceries or small documentation and a lot of
We
other
are
services.
actually the man. This is so cool.
And secondly, there has to be a huge shift in the mindset of the family of these women. The husband
Right.
need to be more supportive, the in-laws need to be more supportive, and there has to be complete support structure from the family which has to come, and that's when it will have a 360-degree approach for women to come back, whether it is full-time, part-time, flexibility, a senior level job or a junior level job. That's when it
Right.
will become possible because the organizations have realized that there is a huge potential.
Right. Pooja, anything that you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I know. I think Chirag is very right. There is a whole lot of change that has to happen across, the families have to be more supportive and understand what women are going through or what their challenges are. I think at the workplace, someone made a very valid point, which is to say that managers need to be coached. And I think
Mhm.
regardless of whether they're male or female, just how do you manage if someone's on a break or is having a baby or whatever, right? Just how do you work effectively with them is something that requires some amount of coaching sometimes. What we also found, Mansi, is, and we did a bit of experimentation around this, is that women actually rate themselves, and there's lots of research to show that as well, is, in self-assessment, women tend to rate themselves lower than their managers or other stakeholders would do, right? So these are things which are in our minds, right? And women are often apologetic when they're leaving early, although they've started the day very early too, right? So I
Right.
think a lot of it has to come from within as well, and it just needs a lot of training and coaching to make these things happen.
Right. Right.
Can
Okay,
I
and
make
the
one last one?
yes,
One
sure,
last
please.
I think women who are looking at getting back to work have to be slightly selfish and think about themselves a little
Yes,
more. While they are at home,
absolutely.
they need to spend a couple of hours making sure that they hone their skills, they're keeping themselves updated. And that devotion of a couple of hours every single day when you're not working is really, really important. That apart
Absolutely.
from what it does to your understanding and knowledge, it gives you immense confidence when you actually are going to get back and you don't feel left out or you don't feel left behind, that I am still updated, whether it's a online course or a certification or just networking. You got to give yourself those couple of hours each day to make sure that you make a difference once you go back.
Right.
And also,
Absolutely.
Mansi, the thing is that it's kind of the law of the averages. So till now, the average working person was a male in the workforce, and that's how policies and infrastructure was built around it. Now, as you get more and more women joining the workforce, automatically companies will have to become more cooperative of their lifestyles. And
Right.
when it comes to flexibility, I feel a lot of women who are looking at getting back full time, the only flexibility they really require is a boss who understands that if they have a sick child, they might need to work from home that day.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, all you guys, for joining today. It really means a lot, and I really wish that we're all all praying bridges to build this gap that really exists. And like I just read this article where somebody said that don't ask me to lean in anymore because I'm just going to fall flat on my face now because I cannot lean in anymore. And also that I don't want to freeze my eggs, but I want to have a baby, and I want somebody who will support me in that endeavor to raise the baby at the right time and not give me options of doing things later. So I really wish that somewhere all of us can play that little part and try and give women in the workforce the jobs that they really desire and get women back to work. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you, Chetna and Richard. That means a lot for you, both of you to be joining us today as well.
Thank you.
Mansi.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.